In the first part, we established a clarity of our vision and mission. We then went on to looking at our corporate strategy to make sure that we had that right. Next, we carried out a comprehensive analysis of our firm's background and history and created a descriptive document, and then went on to carrying out a comprehensive SWOT analysis. Having done that, we looked at the optimum strategy for us to look at globally in our industry that we wanted to diversify, and then went on to looking at various geographic possibilities. This led us to various countries of choice, and we focused in on one country in order to make sure that we had it right and felt that this was the country for us. And this then takes us on to the next part.
Let us examine the type of options available to us. These include exports, licensing, management contracting, contract manufacturing, technical assistance, buying or taking over an existing business, setting up a joint venture, or setting up a business system independently.
It was not a joint venture, but we were negotiating a licensing agreement, technology licensing agreement. And the foreign partner, they were very clear that they will not allow the license agreement to go beyond a certain volume, because they felt that beyond that they will be able to resume exports into India.
In our joint venture and alliance search, we are now faced with some very crucial questions. And these are, is our search going to lead to a mere licensing agreement, or will it be a full joint venture with equity participation by both partners? Or will it just be a kind of arrangement where we buy technology and know-how? Besides these, there are other factors that government legislation brings about in a joint venture. The first one is, can the profits be repatriated? Can dividends be repatriated? Can you employ expatriate personnel in your joint venture? All of these questions are of crucial importance to both partners. And once we've answered these questions, we will finally embark on the last leg of our successful joint venture and alliance search.
First of all, the partner must be corresponding to your needs. It seems very general words, but if you are small companies and if you marry with a giant, there are big chances to be eaten at the end of the process. So this is already one very dangerous partnership to build on. The second point lies not in the economical or financial ratios. The second point lies in the cultural differences. It seems obvious that different countries have different ways to work, but no one really thought about how compatible are this way to work together.
After all, at the end of the day, both partners, irrespective of which country you are, have to bring something of more or less equal value on the table. Whether it's capital, whether it's technology, whether it's management expertise, whether it's production know-how, whether it's construction know-how. And if this doesn't happen, you can get into problems.
We can see the crucial importance of the need for complementary resources to be brought to the table by each partner.
Toshiba and Motorola's association goes back to the mid-1980s in the development of microprocessors and memory chips. Frequent interactions between the two companies led to the creation of a successful, healthy alliance.
We are now ready to see our prospective partners in action. And by this we mean, we want to see whether their business philosophy and management style is compatible to our own. By business philosophy we mean that are they the kind of people who view their employees as short-term partners or long-term partners in the business? Do they want quick profits? Are they willing to be patient? Is their management style with diffuse authority like a multinational company? or is authority and responsibility centralized with the owners, the entrepreneurs? These factors will determine whether our partners will be able to work with us happily in the long term. And it is only when we are satisfied about these factors that we can go ahead and enter into our joint venture agreement with our prospective partners.
The final checklist will include size, ownership, financial parameters, technological levels, market access and product range, human relations, and political affiliation. In addition, when searching for a foreign collaborator, also consider the following: market access in terms of image and brand popularity, current and future technologies, rapport and synergy, company size and product range, ability and willingness to invest, currency, logistics, language.
A lack of understanding of cultures has been the Waterloo of many joint ventures and alliances worldwide. People take the understanding of cultures very lightly, and this can be quite fatal. For instance, in the East, time is viewed differently from in the West. Punctuality, or even perception of the span of time, attitude towards others, hospitality, and behavior towards ladies. All of these are factors that can make or break a joint venture. Personal friendships precede business in some societies, whereas business comes first in others. And if you do not understand these cultural nuances and differences, you are doomed to failure.
We as Indian partners like to move gradually, while the international partners want to make investment right up front. And because of the cost of borrowing funds in India is very high, we tend to stagger our capital expenditure.
Well, I think American business and Indian business as well must recognize that there are important differences between the American and Indian cultures. Our societies are organized differently. Our expectations about relationships, business relationships and otherwise, are different and arise out of these cultural differences. India is a society in which hierarchy is more important than it is in America. It is given a degree of emphasis that is greater than in America. Indians respect hierarchy. Therefore, an American seeking to work with Indian business, either here or in the United States, have to recognize that their business partner probably will see the association in terms of superior and inferior.
There must be a cultural fit, because particularly in India, it is not possible to have a wholesale shifting of people who are operating in the businesses. And if we do not have a cultural fit, then to get the combined team to work together and to agree to exchange places is something that is very, very difficult.
But I would say that no country presents the challenges that India presents in being able to use cross-cultural skills. All of them are brought to bear here. Patience, sensitivity, planning, cultural planning, that is knowing what the other culture has as its values, and forethought before action. All of these things are very important in being able to succeed in India.
The case of the Japanese, the open, completely open, and very easily to communicate each other, top manager and middle class, and sometimes the workers.
And at the end of the day, I think it's really, as I said, a very honest appraisal of what you both are, what you both want, what you both expect. And lastly, as I call, subserving your ego.
The case of the Japanese factories, top manager and the worker class, and go to each factories just on time.
I come back again to the time is how you see the time. I mean, for one Indian partner, the time is different than for the French partner, because the French partner is already has his schedule blocked in Europe. So he has a tendency to put everything on papers. Once he has signed a contract, for him, the contract is finished. And very often for his Indian partner, which sees the situation evolving, which sees new opportunities, for him, the signature of the contract means the start for a new negotiation.
Partnerships, even between brothers, are difficult. And here you're entering into partnerships with completely different races, different cultures, different religions, different nationalities, different types of organizations. After all, an entrepreneur-owned managed organization and a non-entrepreneur-owned managed with a different size, a different perception is a completely different situation. So, and if I may add one last, be honest on the table. It's better, my experience is, put your disagreements or your perceptions on the table in front of your partner whenever they arise. And that will go a long way.
Direct recruitment is often the most successful route as an alliance matures. This was the system followed by Chrysler in its Chinese joint venture Beijing Jeep, where, as the operation grew in sophistication, the venture designed its own hiring and training program.
Research on joint ventures and alliances shows that a 50-50 joint venture is more effective than an 80-20 It also shows that the joint venture and alliance that lasts generally 7 years is an optimal one, and that one should hence be prepared for an exit option in one's joint venture. This research is based on what has been understood in the Western world, particularly Japan, the United States, and Western Europe.
We were working on a joint venture, and we knew exactly we wanted in a joint venture because we wanted access to the US market. We were to bring in new products. And we wanted to use the other parties' knowledge and expertise of the US market as individuals. They had limited financial resources, which we knew. So we thought that if the relative strength both parties understands properly, it will work out well. But somehow the other party did not understand the issues involved in a joint venture, and they acted like the expectation was much larger than what they were bringing into the table compared to what we were bringing into the table. So ultimately we ended up buying them.
After we have drafted out the joint venture agreement, one should then sit down and start drafting out the conditions precedent to a dissolution of the agreement. Under what circumstances would the joint venture be dissolved, and when the joint venture is dissolved, what will be the scope of action of each of the partners?
When the Sando-Sankyo alliance was terminated, this resulted in the establishment of an independent business for Sandoz in Japan, making it one of Japan's leading pharmaceutical companies. The Japanese partners in the alliance had meanwhile gained access to Western European markets, which business they continue to build on. Bayer's alliance with Takeda ended in a similar successful fashion.
In spite of all the pain and trouble that we have taken to consummate a successful joint venture, yet there are a host of directions from which we could be faced with problems. These problems could emerge from the environment, such as the government. They could emerge from changing equations within our partners, or could even emerge from our own lack of understanding of what we are expected to give and take.
The problems in setting up joint ventures can be unexpected, numerous, and critical. These could relate to choice of country, partner, or size of project.
With IBM and Coca-Cola in Nigeria, a joint venture could not export to neighboring African countries, as other subsidiaries of IBM and Coca-Cola were already in existence there.
Often one plunges into a country without making a detailed assessment of government policies, the government in power, and the opposition. Often, Governments will make promises about providing water, electricity or roads at meetings with business investors. Here, the availability of resources with the government and its track record should be taken into account. Many times, when the cost factor has not been properly considered, the result would be delays, abandonment of projects, or sellouts. It is therefore better to provide for generous margins of cost overruns, not only because of inflation, but also because of changes in concept, expansion in size, or improvements in technology. Also, one must allow twice the usual time for approvals and clearance from statutory bodies.
And the decisive point will be how fast the decisions are made. So, to my small experience, if I see India, I think India is, let me make this comparison, you are playing like in a football match in the other camp. You are about to make the goal, but you didn't mark yet because the process of laws is simply too long.
But I think an interesting aspect you must understand is that uncertainty is a factor that is behind forming of an alliance. If that factor was not there, alliances will not happen.
At the very initial stage, we tried desperately to have a joint venture. And to be very frank with you, our objective is to have a joint venture without doing proper SWOT analysis. And none of these effort worked out because the objectives are not very clear. And the desire was too strong to have a joint venture, and therefore you are not in a good negotiating position because you didn't know what you want. So I think this is one thing one should avoid.
The reason probably they fail quite often is that many of them are shotgun marriages. Not enough time has been invested in understanding why you wanted an alliance, why a particular partner really makes a good partner. And I think objectives are not very clearly spelled out. And also, in my opinion, top management time has not been devoted to that relationship.
Also, if there is a convincing basis for trust and a partnership, then I would say that a cultural element in India that would come into place would be the importance of that trust as a basis